biannual report indicated that the main cyber risk is driven by sinkhole, which is HTTP and non-HTTP. This is alongside exploitation attempts and many publicly exposed services and misconfigurations of infrastructures. And all this would usually lead to an increase in vulnerabilities and possible incidents such as phishing in an environment or the ransomware that we have witnessed.
And what type of cybersecurity technique were mainly used to detect malicious network traffic?
So the main techniques that we have used are the network-based external telemetry and darknet monitoring to detect this suspicious traffic, in addition to using various threat intelligence tools as well as information sources that we subscribe to as a national threat.
And what were the recommendations for the identified incidents and vulnerabilities across the Namibian cyber landscape?
So most of these recommendations are based on the vulnerabilities and incidents that were found or observed as a threat, and we mostly recommend that we should strengthen the cyber resilience of the landscape of Namibia through prevention as well as responses, which is mainly achieved by implementing measures such as identifying and isolation of compromised systems, your patching management solution in your environment, improving your firewalls and DNS controls, as well as reducing the exposure by disabling insecure services. The national state also highly recommends that organizations prioritize cybersecurity governance, which can be obtained through policies, procedures, as well as processes, and these can result in having a proper cybersecurity program, awareness, incident response plans, and procedures, as well as disaster recovery and business continuity plans. Those are very critical to having an organization, as it would prepare you on how you respond to incidents.
Can you tell us how far are these recommendations from being implemented?
Well, some organizations adopted the shared recommendations speedily, especially those of high risk and of high impact, while others might take longer due to the fact that there are various resource constraints, limited cybersecurity skill set capacity in some organizations, and mostly legacy systems and infrastructure that you wouldn't make a change overnight because it could impact an organization's operational status. And due to lack of, again, policies and governance, when those are not in place, it makes it difficult to implement the recommended techniques or mitigations with regards to this risk identified.
What would you say is the status of Namibia's cybersecurity landscape currently?
Well, due to the increase of digitalization of services, where we are currently at as a nation, Namibia's cyber landscape remains active and at high risk prone of cyber threats. So there's still a need for cyber threat exposure management, continuous monitoring in order for us to ensure the protection of our critical infrastructure and critical information infrastructure.
And since the report was issued in 2025, has the Namibia Cybersecurity Incident Response Team detected any more incidences of cyber risk or threats?
Yes, we have. Public reporting for the later period in 2025 that is due indicates further detections, including substantial numbers of vulnerabilities identified subsequently in the quarter. So we have wrapped up the full statistics of 2025 and will be releasing that report in due time.
And approximately 1,090,342 cyber vulnerabilities were also reported, which has slightly decreased in comparison to the previous report. What were the contributing factors to this decrease?
So usually the vulnerabilities would decrease when organizations would then apply or implement the recommended remediations, which were mainly, again, improved by possible patching and hardening of systems within organizations, the shutdown of exposed services, the closing of unused and open ports, because these are the gaps that we have identified that would give access to hackers or intruders. There's also been an adoption of controls such as strong access management. We've been advocating for strong passwords adding multi-factor authentication, as well as just an improvement in in security controls within infrastructures, like investment in malware detection, your intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. So a typical anti-malware solution is no longer enough to protect an entire infrastructure of your IT environment. So organizations have been investing in more tools that would help them secure the environment as well as instantly detect any anomalies within the environment. And lastly, we've been seeing a lot of cybersecurity awareness across the nation by various institutions, and which will eventually lead to a whole cyber hygiene conduct within our landscape of Namibia.
Yeah. Now, with the cybersecurity bill expected to be finalized this year, has the information from the report and recommendations been incorporated into the bill to make the bill more secure?
Not necessarily from the current report. However, the cyber bill covers most, if not all, areas of security controls that aim to protect the citizens of Namibia, the critical infrastructure, and again, critical information infrastructure from various security threats. So I would say yes, the draft also includes industry expert input from institutions such as CREN as well as the NAMCET, amongst others that have really provided input into this cyber bill.
And just finally, how involved were individuals and institutions in contributing to the report and towards cyber efforts in terms of information infrastructures and security controls, and also to end user awareness amongst others?
So what I can say is that cybersecurity has become a national priority in Namibia, just like any other countries and nation of the world. More people and institutions are now interested in cybersecurity, and it's important in our daily lives. And most importantly, the impact that it would have on our citizens and any organization's operation. So although reporting of cyber incidents remains a stigma and avoidance by most organizations, no one wants to be out in public that you have a low security profile or posture. However, we've seen over time that more organizations are open to sharing information within the cybersecurity communities. They are now implementing security working groups across industries so that they can share solutions and ideas when it comes to this common threat, that is cyber threat. And then they've also implemented security controls and the remediations that have been shared, which eventually increases the cybersecurity awareness of our nation. And each and every effort eventually contributes to the cyber resilience of the landscape of Namibia.